Hey, my friends, my true living warriors. Today, I want to speak directly to you. Not the world, not the crowd, not your followers, but you sitting there, feeling the weight of a life half lived. I want to talk about something almost invisible, but deadly. Something we do every single day without even realizing it. The silent apology we give to the world. Have you noticed it? How many times you apologize for your dreams before they even take shape? How many times you shrink your ideas because they feel too big or too ambitious for the people around you? You whisper sorry in your own mind, like wanting more is a crime. And it doesn't matter if you're in New York hustling from one Zoom meeting to the next, in London navigating polite office politics while your soul quietly screams, or in Dubai balancing family expectations with the life you secretly crave. The weight is the same. And then there's the apology for being different, for thinking differently, for seeing the world in a way that others don't understand. You've got colleagues in open plan offices, nodding at ideas that don't belong to them while your unique voice is quieted. You hide your creativity, your curiosity, your vision, because someone might judge, someone might laugh, someone might not fit it into their neat box. And so you apologize silently every single day for the very thing that makes you you. You apologize for your emotions, feeling hurt, feeling joy, feeling anger, even feeling love, and then quickly stuffing it back down because in a culture of efficiency, productivity, and image, showing emotion is inconvenient. Americans are told to keep calm and carry on. Brits say sorry for everything, even sneezing, and expats in UAE navigate layers of expectation. Workplace, family, culture, apologizing for feelings they didn't even ask to have. You smile at someone you don't like, you nod at something you don't agree with, all to avoid conflict, apologizing silently, endlessly. And the biggest, heaviest apology? The one for simply existing, for taking up space in the world. You hesitate to speak in meetings, even when your insight is crucial. You decline invitations because you feel like you'll burden others. You stop yourself from walking your own path because it might make someone uncomfortable. And every day, every hour, that tiny whisper of "I'm sorry for being me" chips away at your energy, your confidence, your identity. This silent apology is everywhere. It runs through your mornings. As you dress for the office, rehearsing your words before breakfast. It shadows your afternoons, in emails carefully crafted to avoid offending anyone. It lingers into your evenings, scrolling through feeds, comparing, questioning, apologizing to yourself for not measuring up, and the sad truth. It doesn't make life easier, it just makes it smaller. But here's the wisdom. Noticing it is the first step. Naming it is the second. And the third is breaking free. That's what we're going to do today. That's what we're going to explore. How to stop apologizing for your dreams, your differences, your emotions, and the space you deserve to take up in this world. Let me start with something quiet, yet heavy, something that most people carry in silence. The weight of life pressing down on you, quietly, every single day. The heaviness you feel in your chest when you wake up and scroll through another day of news, emails, social media updates, and achievements you think you should have reached by now. That's not just fatigue. That's depression creeping in through the cracks of your routine, the cracks you thought were hidden from everyone else. I see it in you, the loneliness that sits beside you even in a crowded subway, in a packed office, in coffee shops buzzing with people who all seem to have it together. You're surrounded by faces, conversations, and laughter, and yet there's a quiet, knowing sense that no one truly sees you. That invisible shadow follows you from your morning alarm to your commute, from your desk at work to the emails you send, from the Zoom meetings to the group texts where everyone else is celebrating life while you're quietly battling yourself. There are silent battles you fight every day. You replay conversations in your head, imagining what went wrong, what you said wrong, how you should have acted differently. You overthink every message, every glance, every small gesture, exhausting yourself trying to anticipate judgment, that may never even exist. And in this constant internal calculation, your confidence quietly slips away. You start believing you're not enough, not smart enough, not successful enough, not worthy enough. And every missed opportunity feels like proof. Even at work, even in your studies, even in the smallest daily interactions, this feeling lingers. You hesitate to speak in meetings because your voice doesn't feel important enough. You decline invitations because you fear being judged or rejected. You scroll past accomplishments online, silently comparing yourself to friends, colleagues, and strangers alike. And the worst part, you carry all of this silently, thinking everyone else has it together, while you feel like you're barely holding on. But here's a quiet truth. Feeling this way doesn't make you weak. It doesn't make you broken. It makes you human. It makes you alive. Every moment you feel invisible, every second you feel not enough, is a call from your soul to look inward, to face yourself, to acknowledge the battle that no one else sees. And the first step toward healing is simple, yet profound: to sit with yourself, to recognize your emotions, and to tell yourself, quietly, firmly, without apology, that it's okay to feel, it's okay to struggle, and it's okay to exist exactly as you are. The heaviness will not vanish overnight. The loneliness will not disappear in a single conversation. But step by step, choice by choice, you reclaim pieces of yourself. You allow your heart to breathe. You let your confidence grow quietly, like roots under the soil, unseen but unstoppable. And slowly, the invisible weight begins to lift. Not because the world changes, but because you finally start to honor yourself in it. So, to everyone listening right now, the ones who wake up, put on a brave face, scroll through life, and go to bed wondering if anyone sees you, know this: I see you. I feel you. And it is in this quiet acknowledgement, this gentle confrontation with your own humanity, that the first spark of freedom begins. And as we begin to notice this weight, the silent apologies, the fear of judgment, the heaviness we carry every day, it's important to trace it back, to see where it all began. You see, long before the office emails, the Zoom meetings, the late night scrolling through other people's lives, we were learning something quietly, invisibly, in our childhood. The first lessons of apology were not spoken in words. They were spoken in rules, in gestures, in reactions of the people around us. Remember being told to stay quiet. Maybe it was in your classroom in New York, London, Manchester, or even Dubai, raising your hand, full of ideas, and being told, "Not now," or "Let someone else speak." That voice, soft at first, carved a path in your mind. Your thoughts, your questions, your curiosity, they had to wait. You learned that your presence, your voice, your boldness could be dangerous if expressed too loudly. And that lesson stayed with you. And then came the warnings about mistakes. Don't make a mistake, be careful, or you'll get in trouble. Everyone's watching. Childhood was full of these invisible checklists. And now, in adulthood, the echo of those words runs through your daily life. You hesitate before sending an email, worried it might be wrong. You pause in a team meeting before speaking, fearing your suggestion won't be perfect. You over-edit every presentation, every report, every social media post. All because your inner child still believes that mistakes are dangerous, that perfection is survival. And the rules about not being too loud, how often does this show up in your daily life? In group calls, in brainstorming sessions, even in casual chats at the coffee machine. You hold back, you soften your tone, you shrink your opinions, because somewhere deep inside, you learn that being noticed, being loud, being too much could make others uncomfortable, or worse, make you vulnerable to judgment. And that tiny suppression becomes invisible chains, limiting your voice, your creativity, your impact. And then the hardest lesson of all, don't upset others. That's the one that follows you through your entire adult life. In meetings, you agree when you want to say no. In relationships, you nod when your heart screams stop. In friendships, you swallow your truth to keep peace. And slowly, quietly, over the years, these lessons accumulate. They transform into guilt. Guilt for speaking your mind. Guilt for being yourself. Guilt for existing fully, unapologetically. You learn to apologize before you even act, before you even speak, before you even think. And by the time you're walking into your office, your cafe, your Zoom call, your day-to-day life, you carry a burden that wasn't yours to begin with. Here's the quiet wisdom. My friends, noticing this is the first step toward freedom. Realizing that these automatic apologies, these invisible chains, were lessons meant to keep you safe as a child, not rules for how to live as an adult, gives you the power to choose differently. You can decide today that mistakes are growth, that your voice matters, that taking space, saying no, and honoring yourself is not rude. It's necessary. And the moment you begin to unlearn these patterns, to challenge the guilt, to reclaim your space, that is the moment your life begins to shift. And as we start noticing the weight we carry, the silent apologies, the fear of judgment, the guilt that traces back to childhood, another force begins to appear: the pressure to fit in, the quiet, relentless whisper of "you need to belong" that shapes so much of your daily life, often without you even realizing it. It doesn't matter where you live. It shows up everywhere. It just wears different clothes. The pressure is subtle but insidious. Be unique, but not too different. Stand out, but not in a way that makes others uncomfortable. Chase success, but measure it against everyone else's highlight reel. Post the perfect picture. Craft the perfect message. Give the perfect performance, all while wondering if anyone will approve, if anyone will like it, if anyone will think you belong. Every morning, millions wake up with the internal question, am I enough? And every evening, they scroll, compare, and tuck themselves into bed with doubt, trying to meet a world standard that keeps shifting. The pressure wears many masks. Politeness often comes before honesty. You smile when you're upset. You nod when you disagree. You soften your words, hide your feelings, suppress your true identity. All because it's better not to cause a fuss. You manage work dynamics with extreme care, carefully choosing your tone, making sure you're agreeable, making sure you don't disturb the equilibrium. Even in casual conversations, there's this quiet habit of shrinking yourself, of being acceptable, of blending in. The pressure also takes on complex social and cultural forms. You hesitate to speak your mind at work, to share your ideas in meetings, or even to express yourself freely because of fear. Fear of offending someone, fear of standing out, fear of losing acceptance. Many carry identity confusion, trying to balance who they truly are with who the world expects them to be. And this tension, day after day, silently erodes confidence and authenticity. The pressure to fit in is everywhere. At your morning coffee stop, as you rehearse your words for a meeting. In your emails, carefully crafted to please without causing discomfort. In social media interactions, where every like, every comment, every scroll is a measurement of belonging. Even in friendships and families, where you laugh at jokes that don't amuse you, nod at opinions that clash with yours, and apologize internally for existing differently than expected. It's exhausting. And yet, most people don't even notice they are bending themselves into shapes that aren't theirs. Here's the wisdom. My friends, noticing this is liberating. Realizing that all this pressure, to chase approval, to hide your truth, to adjust your life to other people's comfort, is not a reflection of your worth, but a reflection of systems, cultures, and habits that taught you survival instead of freedom. That awareness is the first step toward reclaiming yourself. And once you begin to see the rules for what they are, you can begin to choose which ones to honor and which ones to leave behind. That, my warriors, is where true liberation begins, in knowing that fitting in is optional and being yourself is inevitable. There's another layer quietly shaping how we live. Social media. It's not just an app, a feed, or a platform. It's a mirror reflecting not who we are, but who we think we're supposed to be. And in this reflection, the apology lifestyle thrives. Every morning, before we even take our first sip of coffee, we scroll. And as we scroll, we filter ourselves. We choose only the parts of our life that are acceptable, likable, or impressive. We hide our emotions, the frustration, the sadness, the doubt behind perfectly staged images, clever captions, and curated stories. We smile when we feel tired. We pose when we feel broken. And each post, each like, each comment becomes a silent apology for being human. We bend to trends, molding our behavior, our language, our appearance, to fit what's popular, what's approved, what's celebrated. In offices, in Zoom calls, in coffee shops, even in casual conversations, we mimic the trends we see online, silently asking ourselves, will this make people like me? Will this keep me safe from judgment? Will this make me belong? Every filtered post, every carefully edited story is another nod to conformity, another surrender to external approval. And in chasing likes, followers, validation, we lose touch with authenticity. We begin to measure our worth by numbers, by superficial metrics, by fleeting attention. The more we bend, filter, and hide, the more we apologize to the world for existing as we truly are. Every scroll, every share, every post becomes a quiet reinforcement of the habit we've carried since childhood, that our raw, messy, human selves are not enough. And that, my friends, slowly erodes confidence, joy, and presence. It teaches us to censor ourselves even when no one is watching, because we've internalized the idea that perfection is safety. Here's the wisdom: noticing this is liberating. Social media is a tool, not a master. You can choose to engage without apology. You can choose to show your unfiltered emotions, to share your imperfect moments, to reject the trends that don't resonate with your truth. The moment you stop measuring yourself by other people's reflections and start measuring by your own values, passions, and desires, that is the moment authenticity is reborn. That is the moment you reclaim your voice, your presence, your life, unapologetically. Because remember, my warriors, the world does not need another filtered version of someone else. It needs you, real, raw, messy, human, unapologetic. And in this reclaiming, the cycle of apology breaks, the cage cracks, and you finally begin to breathe freely in your own truth. And as we become aware of the cages we've carried, the silent apologies, the fear of judgment, the pressure to fit in, the filtered versions of ourselves, there's yet another layer quietly shaping our lives: manipulation and emotional control. Have you ever noticed how some people make you feel responsible for their happiness? How a comment, a tone, or a glance can make your chest tighten. It's subtle at first. A friend who guilt trips you for saying no. A colleague who twists your words, making you feel anxious before every meeting. A family member whose love feels conditional, as if it has to be earned by bending yourself into shapes that aren't yours. And slowly, without noticing, you begin to walk on eggshells. Toxic relationships don't always roar. Often they whisper. They use emotional blackmail disguised as concern. They make you question your choices, your worth, even your reality. And in a world that values constant communication, endless emails, Slack messages, Zoom calls, social media chats, this manipulation sneaks into every corner of life. You hesitate to speak freely at work. You soften your opinion with friends. You second-guess your actions at home. And all the while, you apologize silently for your own feelings, as if they were wrong for existing. This is incredibly relatable for young people navigating modern life. In college dorms, internships, first jobs, or shared apartments, you encounter peers, roommates, or colleagues whose control is disguised as friendship, mentorship, or guidance. Every social interaction becomes a careful calculation. How can I please them? How can I avoid conflict? How can I keep my position, my reputation, my relationship safe? And the worst part is, the moment you notice it, you realize just how much energy is wasted trying to protect yourself from someone else's emotional manipulation. Here's the wisdom. Noticing it is the first act of courage. Understanding that no one has the right to control your feelings, no matter their role in your life, is liberating. Recognizing toxic patterns, naming them, and setting boundaries is an act of reclaiming your inner power. And the moment you stop walking on eggshells, the moment you refuse to apologize for your emotions, you take back space, presence, an authenticity that has been quietly stolen from you. Remember, my friends, you are not responsible for the moods, insecurities, or manipulations of others. You are responsible for your own energy, your own choices, your own life. And choosing to protect that unapologetically is not selfish. It's survival. It's liberation. It's the moment your true self begins to breathe again. And as we notice the weight of silent apologies, manipulation, and constant pressure to fit in, the question arises, how do we reclaim our space, our energy, our life? The answer begins with boundaries, not the kind imposed by others, but the ones we draw for ourselves. Inner peace starts when you recognize that it is okay to say no. Not every request demands a yes. Not every meeting, every chat, every favor, every obligation deserves your energy. In your office, it could mean respectfully declining a project that overwhelms you. On Zoom calls, it might be muting the noise that distracts your focus. In friendships, it could be stepping back from constant negativity or gossip. In daily life, it's about protecting the quiet moments, your morning coffee, your evening walk, the few hours that belong only to you. Setting boundaries doesn't make you rude, unkind, or selfish. It makes you alive. It allows you to protect the most valuable resource you have, your energy. When you say no to what drains you, you say yes to what nourishes you. Saying no to toxic patterns, to guilt-tripping friends, to manipulative relationships doesn't close doors, it opens the right ones. Doors to people, experiences, and opportunities aligned with your truth. And let go of what doesn't serve you. That colleague who constantly belittles your ideas. That friend whose calls leave you anxious. That family dynamic that makes you apologize for your existence. Letting go is not about abandoning love or loyalty. It's about preserving your life force, your calm, your focus, and your clarity. It is in these acts, small yet profound, that inner peace begins to flourish. Remember, my warriors, your energy is precious. Treat it as such. Protect it as if it were gold. Say no unapologetically. Step away from what drains you. Step into what aligns with your values, your dreams, your authentic self. And in doing so, you will find a quiet, unshakable peace. A peace that no outside pressure, judgment, or manipulation can touch. That peace, my friends, is freedom. That peace is power. That peace is the life you were meant to live, unapologetically, fully and courageously. And then comes the moment, quiet, powerful, unannounced, when you realize that all the fear, all the guilt, all the invisible chains of apology have no place in your life anymore. It doesn't come with fireworks or a loud declaration. It begins in the small spaces of your day, in your morning commute, in a coffee shop, in your first words during a meeting. When you decide, finally, to stand firm, you begin to speak your truth, not aggressively, not arrogantly, but with calm certainty. In conversations at work, you offer ideas without overthinking who will approve. On Zoom calls, you contribute without softening every word to fit in. In friendships, you share opinions without fearing disagreement. In families, you honor your feelings without shrinking into someone else's expectations. Every yes becomes intentional, every no becomes freeing, and every moment of silence carries your quiet confidence. You start to own your identity, fully, unapologetically. The parts of you that were once hidden because they seemed too different, too emotional, too ambitious, too loud, or too vulnerable, now have space to breathe. You embrace your failures as lessons, your emotions as guides, your dreams as sacred. You stop comparing yourself to highlight reels and filtered lives, and start measuring by your own values, your own courage, your own growth. And the world notices, not always with applause, but with respect, because authenticity carries a weight no imitation ever can. The quiet confidence you exude is magnetic. People feel it in your presence. Colleagues, friends, even strangers sense that you are grounded, that you are complete, that you will no longer bend for approval. You have entered the rare territory of unapologetic authenticity, where peace, freedom, and personal power coexist effortlessly. This is the turning point, my friends. This is the moment life changes, the moment you stop apologizing for your existence your choices, your voice, your dreams. The moment you reclaim your energy, your boundaries, your voice, your power. And in that reclamation, every day becomes an act of courage, every interaction a reflection of your truth, and every breath a celebration of the freedom you were always meant to live. And as we pause here, after tracing the weight of silent apologies, the fear of judgment, the pressure to fit in, the manipulations, and the countless compromises we've made, let us take a quiet breath together. Because in the midst of deadlines, morning commutes, endless meetings, scrolling through social feeds, and juggling everyone else's expectations, it's easy to forget the simplest truth. You are enough. Yes, you, sitting there in your apartment, your office, your shared space, wondering if you're too much, too loud, too sensitive, too ambitious, or too different. You are enough. Every email you send, every project you tackle, every conversation you navigate, you are enough. Your thoughts, your feelings, your energy, they belong to you and they are valid. You deserve to exist without permission. You deserve to take up space in your workplace, your friendships, your family, and your city. You deserve to say no without guilt. You deserve to speak up without fear of offending. You deserve to pursue your dreams, to follow your passions, to make mistakes, and to learn without apologizing for being human. And the moment you recognize this, the world will notice the shift, not because you're louder, but because you're more real, more present, more alive. You are not here to shrink. You are not here to make others comfortable at the cost of your soul. You are not here to dim your light, to filter your voice, or to apologize for existing. In every meeting, every Zoom call, every coffee shop conversation, every hallway exchange, carry this truth. Walk into your day with the quiet strength that comes from knowing you are enough, that you deserve to exist without permission, and that your life, your energy, and your voice matter. And when you live this way, unapologetically, with courage and clarity, you begin to break the cycle of silent apologies, of bending for others, of shrinking for comfort. You reclaim your space, you reclaim your energy, you reclaim your life, and that, my warriors, is the gift you give yourself every single day. And after exploring the weight of apologies, the pressure to fit in, and the constant negotiation of your energy and emotions, there's another quiet struggle that touches almost everyone: the pain of pretending to be someone you're not. Every morning, many of us wake up and put on a mask. You smile at colleagues during a meeting, even when your heart feels heavy from last night's struggles. You act strong in conversations, even when inside you're quietly breaking. You nod and agree when every fiber of your being wants to say no. And by the end of the day, after replying to countless emails, attending back-to-back Zoom calls, and managing both work and social expectations, you wonder, when will I get to just be myself? This mask is exhausting because it asks you to hide the very essence that makes you human. It's hiding frustration to avoid conflict, stifling laughter or tears to fit in, and softening opinions to be acceptable. It shows up in offices, in coffee shops, on public transportation, and even at home. You laugh at jokes that don't amuse you, you play roles in friendships that don't feel authentic, and you constantly censor your true voice. And slowly, without realizing, this pretending becomes second nature, until you forget what it feels like to live unmasked. The pain is invisible to most, but you feel it deeply. It drains your energy, clouds your mind, and erodes your confidence. And yet, this is exactly where the courage to reclaim yourself begins. The moment you notice the mask, the moment you acknowledge that smiling while hurting, agreeing while wanting to say no, and hiding your emotions is taking a toll, that awareness becomes the spark of transformation. Here's the truth, my friends: wearing a mask is not strength. Living authentically, showing your true self, even when imperfect, emotional, or vulnerable, is courage. And the day you allow yourself to take off the mask, even in small ways, in meetings, in conversations, in your daily routines, that is the day your energy begins to return, your voice becomes clear, and your life starts aligning with the person you were always meant to be. And as we continue peeling back the layers of silent apologies, hidden emotions, and masks we wear, there's a heavy weight that almost everyone carries, though few admit it: the exhaustion of people pleasing. Think about it. Every day, we adjust ourselves. We modify our tone in meetings, soften our words in conversations, and tweak our actions to avoid upsetting anyone. In offices, we deliver emails crafted not only to communicate, but to ensure no one feels offended. In friendships, we laugh at jokes we don't find funny, nod at opinions we don't agree with, and even overextend our time to meet others' expectations. It's a full-time performance, and it's exhausting. We chase a perfect image, polished, composed, agreeable, while silently carrying anxiety in our chest. Every interaction becomes a careful calculation. How much of me can I show today? How can I be liked without causing friction? How can I keep everyone happy while still surviving in my own life? And by the evening, after endless scrolling, meetings, and social navigation, we collapse into bed, drained, questioning whether anyone ever noticed who we truly are. This hits hard for many in American workplaces, where ambition and perfection collide with social dynamics. It shapes the British politeness culture, where saying no feels almost impossible, and disagreeing politely is a life skill. And for expats or globally mobile professionals, the pressure to fit into every social expectation, to navigate cultural nuances without offense, can be quietly crushing. Across all of these, the pattern is the same: bending, pleasing, hiding, and apologizing silently for existing differently. Here's the wisdom, my friends: the moment you recognize the cost of people pleasing, you begin to free yourself, realizing that adjusting for others constantly is draining your soul. Not protecting it is the first step toward reclaiming your energy. Setting boundaries, speaking your truth, allowing imperfection, and embracing your authentic self is not selfish. It is necessary. It is the only path to living fully awake, fully present, and fully unapologetic. Because every time you stop performing for others, every time you stop bending to keep peace at the cost of your peace, you step closer to the life you were meant to live. And that, my warriors, is liberation. And as we untangle the exhaustion of people pleasing, the masks we wear, and the constant battle to fit in, there's a quiet, aching feeling that creeps into many lives: the feeling of being left behind. You watch others succeed. Your friends land promotions, buy homes, travel the world, or celebrate milestones that seem just out of reach. You scroll through social media and see curated achievements, perfect vacations, thriving businesses, happy families, and silently ask yourself, why am I not there yet? It doesn't matter if you've been working late nights on projects, taking care of responsibilities, or juggling multiple roles at once. The pace of life feels different for everyone else, and you feel slower. You feel stuck, trapped in routines that don't reflect your dreams, in schedules that barely allow a breath of clarity. And in those quiet moments, in the subway, during your morning coffee, or while waiting for your emails to load, the comparison gnaws at you, whispering doubts you didn't ask for. This is so relatable because it touches the rhythms of modern life: the office deadlines, the endless Zoom calls, the late night hustle, the morning commute, the constant awareness of everyone else's progress online and offline. The world moves fast, achievements are highlighted, milestones are celebrated publicly, and it's easy to feel like your own story is lagging behind. Here's the wisdom, my friends: being left behind is often an illusion, a byproduct of comparison and social noise. Your path is yours alone. The timing of your growth does not have to mirror anyone else's. Every step you take, however small, counts. Every lesson you learn, every effort you make, every quiet victory in your own day. These are your milestones. And the moment you stop measuring yourself against highlight reels and start acknowledging your own journey, your pace, your effort, that is when freedom, clarity, and real progress begin. So remember, the world may celebrate fast movers and early achievers, but your life is not a race. It is a journey, and the only person you need to outrun is the version of yourself that doubts, shrinks, or apologizes for existing. And in that awareness, you find peace, purpose, and the courage to keep moving forward, unapologetically, steadily, and fully alive. And as we reflect on being left behind, silently comparing ourselves, and bending to fit expectations, there's another quiet weight many carry, the fear of losing someone if you disappoint them. It whispers in your mind constantly. If I don't behave how they want, they'll leave. If I speak up, they'll get angry. If I set boundaries, they'll hate me. And suddenly, even the simplest choices, saying no to a work request, disagreeing in a meeting, voicing your feelings in a friendship, feel like walking a tightrope over a pit of judgment and rejection. This fear is deeply tied to daily life. In offices, you overdeliver, avoid difficult conversations, and stay silent when you have ideas that challenge the status quo. In social circles, you laugh at jokes you don't enjoy, agree to plans you don't want, and hide opinions that might provoke disagreement. In families, you swallow your frustration, soften your words, and often apologize for your emotions, all to prevent conflict or disappointment. And in every casual interaction, from coffee shops to group chats, the same internal dialogue quietly echoes. If I step out of line, I might lose them. It's exhausting because it keeps you walking on eggshells, constantly calculating, constantly censoring. Your authenticity is sacrificed to avoid the possibility of losing people who, in reality, may never leave you, but whose imagined reactions you fear. And the irony is, the more you try to prevent disappointment, the more your energy drains, your confidence diminishes, and your life becomes smaller than it should be. Here's the wisdom, my friends. The moment you recognize this fear for what it truly is, a mental trap, a habit of apologizing for your existence, you start reclaiming freedom. People who care for you will respect your boundaries, hear your truth, and still choose to be in your life. And those who cannot, those who react with anger, judgment, or abandonment, were never meant to support the real you anyway. Understanding this allows you to stop bending endlessly, to stop shrinking, and to finally show up unapologetically, without fear controlling your every word and action. Because when you release this fear, you are no longer a hostage to other people's expectations. You are free to live authentically, to act courageously, and to invest your energy where it truly matters. And in that freedom, your relationships, your work, and your life finally begin to feel whole, honest, and alive. And as we reflect on fears, expectations, and the weight of trying to please everyone, there's another subtle, invisible burden that creeps into daily life, overthinking every word, every action. You replay conversations in your head, sometimes hours or even days later, wondering if you said the right thing. You analyze every reaction from colleagues, friends, or family members, searching for hidden meanings, possible offense, or subtle judgment. You wait for validation, like a silent signal that you've been accepted, approved, or understood. You worry about tone. Did I sound too harsh, too weak, too emotional? And worst of all, you fear embarrassing yourself, afraid that one small misstep could change how the world sees you. This pattern is woven into the fabric of daily life. In offices, you draft emails, delete, rewrite, overthink the phrasing, and still feel unsure if it will be received correctly. During meetings or Zoom calls, you calculate every word before speaking, sometimes choosing silence instead of sharing ideas. In social gatherings, you measure laughter, opinions, and gestures, constantly scanning for signs of approval or disapproval. Even at home, after the day is over, your mind replays minor interactions, analyzing tone and reactions, questioning if you could have handled them better. The irony is that while overthinking seems like caution, it slowly erodes your confidence, your clarity, and your ability to live freely. It keeps you trapped in a loop of self-judgment, creating anxiety where there should be ease, doubt where there should be trust, and hesitation where there should be courage. And yet, awareness is your first step toward freedom. Recognizing that overthinking is a habit, a reflection of fear and silent apology for existing imperfectly, allows you to pause, breathe, and reclaim control over your mind. Here's the truth, my friends. The world will never judge you as harshly as you judge yourself. The conversations you replay, the reactions you analyze, the validation you seek, they are not measures of your worth. You are not defined by imagined mistakes, misread expressions, or fleeting judgments. When you start choosing presence over replay, clarity over anxiety, and courage over fear, you begin to untangle the chains of overthinking. And in that space, your words, your actions, and your life become aligned with the real, unapologetic you. And after unpacking the exhaustion of overthinking, the fear of disappointing others, and the weight of constant people-pleasing, there's yet another silent struggle that quietly haunts many lives. Feeling invisible even when surrounded by people. You can be in a crowded office, surrounded by colleagues, exchanging small talk, yet feel like you are a ghost, present but unnoticed. You attend meetings, contribute ideas, but no one asks, how are you really? You share your opinion, your thoughts, your feelings, and yet there's a sense that your voice doesn't matter, that it floats past the room without making a ripple. This feeling follows you into social settings as well, at coffee shops, in group gatherings, or even in casual chats. You laugh at jokes that don't reach you, participate in conversations that feel hollow, and sometimes you question if anyone truly sees or hears you. And at the end of the day, whether commuting on the tube, walking through the city streets, or scrolling through social feeds, the sense of invisibility lingers, quietly undermining confidence, self-worth, and the courage to fully show up. The truth, my friends, is that feeling invisible is often not about others. It is about the layers you've built to protect yourself, the masks you've worn, the silent apologies you've carried, and the fear of being judged. And yet, it's also a signal, a quiet invitation to step forward, to claim your presence, and to live unshrinked. Here's the wisdom: your voice matters, your presence matters, and your existence matters. You don't need permission to take up space in your office, in your family, in your friendships, or in your life. When you start honoring your own voice, speaking your truth and showing up authentically, even in small ways, the world begins to notice, not because you demand attention, but because you finally allow yourself to be seen. And in that courage, the weight of invisibility begins to lift. And as we explore the invisible burdens, the masks, the overthinking, and the fear of being left behind, there's a quieter, older weight that many of us carry. Emotional wounds from the past. These wounds come from betrayal by people we trusted, from bullying in school corridors or online, from heartbreak that left us questioning our worth. They come from childhood criticism, the constant reminders that we weren't enough, the unspoken rules that our feelings must be muted, our opinions softened. They come from moments of abandonment or rejection, when someone walked away or didn't show up the way we needed them to. And slowly, these experiences teach us to apologize for existing, to shrink, to hide, to silently carry guilt for simply being ourselves. These old wounds show up in everyday life. In offices, they make you doubt your ideas, hesitate to speak up, and overcompensate to avoid conflict. In friendships, they make you accommodate others, suppress your true feelings, and ignore your own needs. In relationships, they make you fear rejection, bend over backward for approval, and apologize for having boundaries. And even in quiet moments, commuting, scrolling through social media, preparing for a day of work or school, those memories replay, reminding you of past pain and teaching you to preemptively apologize to avoid more. Here's the wisdom. My friends, those wounds, while real, are not definitions of who you are today. They are echoes, reminders, and lessons, not chains. And the moment you begin to recognize them, name them, and honor your healing, you begin to stop apologizing for your existence. You begin to reclaim your energy, your voice, and your right to show up fully, imperfectly, and unapologetically in your life. The past may have taught you to shrink, but the present calls you to stand tall. Every step you take toward healing, toward embracing your true self, is a step away from the chains of old pain and a step into freedom, confidence, and unapologetic living. And after carrying those old wounds, After years of shrinking, pleasing, pretending, and apologizing, something else begins to happen. A kind of exhaustion that no amount of sleep ever fixes. The exhaustion of living two lives. One life that the world sees and another life that only you know. There's the online version of you, the curated smile, the perfectly worded caption, the polished picture taken at just the right angle. You post what makes sense, what feels acceptable, what won't raise questions. You share the victories but hide the fears, show the calm but bury the storms. It's the version that fits into the digital expectations of modern life, especially in places where everyone scrolls, compares, updates, and performs without even realizing it. And then there's the real version, the one who wakes up tired, who carries silent anxieties into the workday, who acts strong in meetings but feels overwhelmed inside, the one who smiles politely at coworkers, keeps conversations light on the morning commute, answers "I'm good" even when the heart is heavy, the version of you that sits quietly in the kitchen at night, replaying the day, wishing someone would ask how you really are. On the outside, you're composed, controlled, calm, but inside there's a storm. Overthinking, self-doubt, old scars, new pressures, the fear of disappointing people, the fear of not keeping up. And balancing these two versions of yourself every single day becomes one of the heaviest emotional labors a person can carry. This is the silent fatigue so many Americans and Brits know well. The exhaustion of managing an image, navigating expectations, being polite, being professional, being okay, even when you're not. Here's the truth, my friends. Living two lives drains your soul more than any workload, any responsibility, any challenge. Because when you split yourself in two, you spend all your energy maintaining the mask instead of healing the heart. But the very moment, you begin to merge who you are online with who you are inside, when you let honesty replace performance, when you allow imperfection to be seen, that is when life becomes breathable again. Authenticity isn't about exposing everything. It's about not hiding the parts of you that deserve compassion, understanding, and acceptance. You don't have to be two versions of yourself. You don't have to survive behind a mask. You are allowed to be one whole, honest human being. Tired sometimes, strong other times, real always. And as we step away from the exhaustion of living two lives, and the storm that hides behind our calm exterior, there's a quiet, burning desire inside each of us that rarely gets voiced. The desire to be accepted without having to change yourself. You long to be loved as you are, with your quirks, your fears, your imperfections, your unpolished thoughts. You wish for someone to truly understand you, not just nod politely while expecting you to fit a mold. You crave peace instead of performance, connection instead of constant calculation, authenticity instead of constant adaptation. This desire shows up in the rhythms of daily life. In the office, you wish colleagues would respect your pace instead of judging your style. On Zoom calls, you hope your ideas are valued for their substance, not their polish. On social media, you yearn for likes and comments that recognize your genuine self, not just the highlight reel you present. In friendships, you wish for honesty over pretense, for someone to ask, "How are you really?" rather than settling for superficial answers. And at home, you hope your family accepts your choices, even if they differ from what's expected. Yet so often, this desire goes unmet, and we compromise. We change our tone, our actions, our goals, all in the hope of being accepted, loved, or understood. And every compromise quietly teaches our soul that approval is more important than presence, that belonging requires sacrifice, that our essence must be hidden to be safe. But here's the truth. My friends, you are worthy of acceptance exactly as you are. The right people, those who matter, those who truly see you, will not ask you to shrink, hide, or perform. They will embrace your honesty, your depth, your authentic rhythm. And when you stop changing yourself to meet the expectations of others, you discover a freedom and a peace so profound it transforms how you work, how you socialize, how you rest, and ultimately how you live. This desire, once acknowledged and honored, becomes a compass, guiding you to relationships, workplaces, and environments that nourish rather than drain your spirit. And that, my friends, is the beginning of living unapologetically, fully, and without fear. And after acknowledging the desire to be accepted without changing yourself, after recognizing the exhaustion of two lives and the silent weight of overthinking, the next truth hits quietly, but powerfully, the courage to walk away. Because life, my friends, will place toxic people, manipulative relationships, controlling environments, and fake friends in your path. And too often we stay out of fear, obligation, hope, or guilt. We bend, we apologize, we overcompensate, and we silently suffer, believing that leaving would be weakness. But let me tell you something crucial: leaving is not weakness. It is wisdom. In the office, it might be a boss who micromanages your every move, undervalues your ideas, or subtly undermines your confidence. At social events, it may be a friend who constantly trips you, drains your energy, or diminishes your voice. In families, it may be relatives who control choices, impose expectations, or dismiss your identity. And everywhere in daily life, commuting, virtual meetings, group chats, the pressure to tolerate, to adjust, to forgive without boundaries, quietly chips away at your peace. The courage to walk away is about more than escape. It's about reclaiming your energy, your voice, and your life. It's about saying to yourself, I am not here to shrink. I am not here to be used or diminished. I am here to live fully, honestly, and on my own terms. And when you finally step away from what harms you, you create space for what nourishes you. Relationships, work, and environments that uplift, respect, and honor your true self. Here's the wisdom: walking away does not mean you failed. It means you have grown. It means you understand that your peace is more valuable than approval, and your freedom is more precious than comfort. Every time you take that step, you teach your mind, your heart, and the world that being unapologetically yourself is not negotiable. So, my warriors, the next time life tests your limits, remember, leaving is courage, leaving is clarity, leaving is love, for yourself first. And after we've faced the courage to walk away, after we've acknowledged the exhaustion of people pleasing, the masks we wear, and the silent apologies we carry, a new truth emerges: the radical freedom of permissionless living. This is the moment when you realize you don't need anyone's approval to exist. You don't need validation to feel worthy. You don't need acceptance to step fully into your life. You don't need permission to be yourself. Think about your daily routines. At work, you've been quietly waiting for your manager to recognize your worth, for your ideas to be approved, for your contributions to be validated. In friendships, you've adjusted your behavior to avoid conflict, to fit in, to feel accepted. Online, you've carefully curated posts, captions, and photos, constantly seeking likes, shares, and comments as proof that you belong. Even at home, in family dynamics, you've softened your voice, hidden your emotions, and muted your desires in the hope of keeping the peace. Permissionless living flips that script. It teaches you to act, speak, and exist without waiting for external approval. To take the step, say the word, chase the dream, simply because it aligns with who you are, not because anyone else says it's okay. To live without asking, without hesitating, without shrinking. Here's the wisdom, my friends: when you live permissionlessly, everything shifts. Your energy shifts from seeking validation to creating value. Your identity shifts from compliance to authenticity. Your relationships shift from obligation to resonance. And your life shifts from performing to thriving. Suddenly, the fear of judgment, the weight of expectation, the habit of apologizing for your existence, all of it begins to lose its power over you. So start today, take the meetings, pursue the goals, say the words, set the boundaries, all without asking for permission. Because the world will always have opinions, the mind will always have doubts, and society will always expect conformity. But you, my warrior, have the choice to live free, fully, and unapologetically. And after embracing permissionless living, after letting go of the fear of judgment, the need to be accepted, and the habit of apologizing for your existence. There comes a moment, a quiet, powerful, almost imperceptible moment, the moment you break the inner cage. This cage has been invisible yet heavy, built by society's expectations, by childhood conditioning, by the constant habit of saying sorry for being yourself. It's the cage that whispers in your office meetings. Don't speak too loudly. Don't ask too much. Don't stand out. It's the cage that nudges you in friendships. Accommodate, smile, avoid conflict, hide your feelings. It's the cage that sits silently in your mind during your morning commute. You're scrolling on social media, your casual conversations, reminding you that you must always fit, always adjust, always apologize. Breaking this cage doesn't happen with noise or grand gestures. It happens quietly, inside your mind, when you finally say, "I am enough. I deserve to exist without permission. I will not shrink for anyone." It happens when you set a boundary at work, speak an uncomfortable truth to a friend, leave a draining relationship, or simply allow yourself to rest without justification. It happens when the internal voice of fear and overthinking finally gives way to clarity and conviction. And when it breaks, it's liberating. You realize the walls were never as solid as you imagined. The chains were never as strong. The bars were only as real as the belief you had in them. Suddenly, the morning commute feels lighter. Meetings feel manageable. Social interactions feel authentic instead of performative. Conversations, relationships, and decisions begin to flow from your truth, not from fear. You carry yourself differently, move differently, think differently. The cage has been broken from within. Here's the truth, my friends: freedom is never outside, it is inside. And the moment you break the inner cage, you reclaim everything that fear, guilt, overthinking, and apology had quietly stolen from you. You step fully into yourself, unapologetic, untamed, and free. And after breaking the inner cage, after walking away from what drains you, after living without permission and shedding the layers of apology, there comes the most profound step of all: reclaiming your identity. For too long, you have carried the weight of who others wanted you to be. You smiled when you were hurting. You adjusted your words, your actions, your dreams, just to be acceptable. You wore masks in meetings, in conversations, on social media, and even at home. You became a version of yourself that could survive, but never thrive. Reclaiming your identity is about rediscovering who you truly are. It's about looking at your routines, your work, your friendships, and asking, does this reflect me, or the version I was told to be? It's about noticing the dreams you abandoned, the boundaries you ignored, the voice you silenced, and allowing yourself to bring them back into your life. In the workplace, it's speaking up for your ideas without fear. In friendships, it's choosing authenticity over pleasing. On social media, it's sharing what resonates with you, not what performs. At home, it's honoring your emotions, your choices, your pace, and refusing to shrink to fit anyone else's expectations. This is how you let go of the fake self. And as you shed the layers that were never truly yours, you begin to become the real version of yourself. You return to your original nature, the self that existed before judgment, fear, and overthinking took hold. That self is wise, unafraid, unapologetic, and fully alive. And when you step into this identity, everything changes. Your energy, your relationships, your work, your peace of mind, your very experience of life. Here's the ultimate truth. My friends, reclaiming your identity is not a one-time act. It's a daily practice of honoring your essence, speaking your truth, and choosing authenticity over approval. And the more you do it, the more freedom you feel, the more alive you feel, the more unapologetically, beautifully, and wholly yourself you become. And after reclaiming your identity, after rediscovering who you truly are, there comes a quiet, profound realization: the power of walking away. Because life will always place toxicity in your path. Manipulation will appear disguised as advice, friendship, or obligation. People and environments will drain your energy, stifle your voice, and quietly convince you that your feelings, thoughts, and presence are less important than their comfort. In the workplace, it's the colleague who constantly undermines you, the manager who micromanages, the culture that expects perfection while ignoring your humanity. In social settings, it's friends who guilt trip, gossip, or demand more than you can give. In personal spaces, it's relationships that leave you walking on eggshells, suppressing your truth to avoid conflict. The courage to walk away is not weakness. It is the strongest act of self-respect. Every time you step out of a draining environment, you reclaim your energy, your voice, and your peace. You begin to set boundaries that protect your mind, your time, and your soul. You realize that leaving is not rejection, it's preservation. Leaving is not abandonment, it's alignment. Here's the truth, my friends, walking away is a radical act of love for yourself. It shifts the entire rhythm of your day. The morning commute feels lighter, conversations feel freer, and your work, your passions, and your connections gain clarity and depth. You start to operate from authenticity rather than obligation, from presence rather than fear, from courage rather than habit. And the more you practice it, the more natural it becomes. Walking away from what drains you is no longer an act of rebellion. It becomes the foundation of your freedom, the cornerstone of your confidence, and the blueprint for a life lived unapologetically on your own terms. And after walking away, after shedding the masks, breaking the inner cage, and reclaiming your identity, there emerges the highest form of freedom, becoming unapologetically authentic. Because living authentically is not just a choice. It's a revolution against the habit of apologizing for your existence. It's choosing peace over performance, your truth over conformity, your own heart over the endless demands of others. It's about speaking your truth in meetings, even when your ideas challenge the norm. It's about voicing your opinion in friendships, even when it might disappoint someone. It's about making decisions that honor your energy, your values, your time, even if others don't understand. In daily life, this looks like saying no without guilt at work, ending conversations that drain you, pausing social interactions that feel performative, or stepping back from environments that stifle your growth. It's choosing calm over chaos, presence over perfection, and authenticity over obligation. Even when it scares people, even when it surprises others, you keep showing up as yourself. And here's the power: the more unapologetically authentic you become, the lighter life feels. Your energy is no longer spent on bending to expectations, hiding emotions, or performing a version of yourself for approval. Your relationships deepen because they are rooted in honesty. Your work becomes purposeful because it aligns with your values. And your inner world finally feels at peace because you are no longer living for anyone else. You are living for yourself. So, my friends, my warriors, let this be your daily practice. Speak your truth, protect your energy, honor your boundaries, and show up as your real self, unapologetically, fearlessly, and fully alive. And as you step into unapologetic authenticity, as you reclaim your identity and walk away from everything that drains you, there comes a quieter, yet more profound revolution, rewiring your inner dialogue. Because for too long, your mind has been a court where you are both the accused and the judge. You have blamed yourself for speaking up, for taking space, for feeling deeply, for existing at all. You have carried guilt as if it were a badge of survival, repeating silently, "I'm sorry for being me." You've replayed mistakes, rehearsed apologies, and allowed shame to dictate every thought, every decision, every interaction. Now it's time to change the conversation. In your mornings, instead of anticipating failure, you affirm your worth. In meetings, instead of doubting your voice, you remind yourself that your ideas matter. On social media, instead of comparing and shrinking, you honor your truth. At home, instead of feeling invisible, you acknowledge your presence. Each small shift, each thought spoken with respect rather than guilt, builds a new neural pathway, a new habit, a new life. Rewiring your inner dialogue is about replacing shame with self-respect. It's about answering yourself first before answering the world. It's saying quietly yet powerfully, "I am enough. I deserve to exist. My thoughts, my feelings, my choices are valid. And as you speak to yourself with compassion and strength, the world begins to reflect it back. Emails are written with clarity. Conversations flow without anxiety. Relationships become healthier, and your energy is no longer spent on self-blame or apology. This is therapeutic, my friends. It is liberation disguised as quiet mindfulness. It is the bridge between surviving and thriving. And as you master this inner conversation, you step fully into freedom, the freedom to live, to love, to create, and to exist unapologetically in every moment. And as you begin rewiring your inner dialogue, as you embrace unapologetic authenticity and reclaim your identity, there comes a higher, transformative step: freedom from fear-based living, because for too long, fear has been the invisible chains around your life. Fear of judgment, fear of failure, fear of disappointing others, fear of being alone. These fears have dictated your every choice, silently shaping your work, your relationships, your routines, and even your moments of solitude. In your office, you may hesitate to voice your ideas, worried about what colleagues or managers will think. In social settings, you soften your laughter, your opinions, your presence, all to avoid disapproval. At home, you may avoid conflict or difficult conversations, fearing tension or rejection. Even in your quietest moments, you replay every interaction, wondering if you measured up, if you were enough, if someone will judge you. And all of it quietly robs your energy and your joy. Freedom from fear-based living begins when you notice these patterns, when you name the fears instead of letting them live in the shadows. It's choosing courage over compliance. It's allowing yourself to speak, act, and exist fully, unapologetically, even if others disagree. It's learning that the only validation you truly need is your own, and the only permission you ever require is from yourself. As you release fear of judgment, fear of failure, fear of disappointing others, and fear of being alone, you start to live life on your terms. You show up with clarity, confidence, and calm. You reclaim your mornings from anxiety, your work from hesitation, your relationships from obligation, and your nights from endless overthinking. And slowly, you discover what it truly means to be alive, not restrained by fear, but guided by freedom, presence, and self-respect. This is not just a lesson, it's a revolution inside you. And when you embrace it fully, you will realize that life itself becomes lighter, clearer, and infinitely more vibrant. And after you release fear, reclaim your voice, and live unapologetically, something remarkable begins to happen. A new version of yourself quietly emerges, a version that was always waiting beneath the layers of doubt, guilt, and conformity. This is the birth of the new you. The mindset shifts. First, you start seeing opportunities where once there was hesitation, possibilities where once there was fear. Decisions become clearer, your mornings lighter, your nights quieter. Confidence replaces anxiety in every interaction, whether at the office, in meetings, in social gatherings, or in your own home. Your identity evolves, no longer shaped by what others expect, but by your own values, your own truth. You carry yourself differently, in posture, in tone, in presence, because you know who you are and you no longer apologize for existing. Your voice becomes authentic, carrying your thoughts and ideas without hesitation. Even in casual conversations, your words resonate with clarity and honesty. Purpose awakens. Tasks at work become meaningful. Relationships deepen in understanding. Daily routines are infused with intention rather than obligation. You wake up asking, what serves me today? How do I grow? How do I live fully? And slowly, life itself feels reborn, vibrant, and unrestrained. This is the true power of transformation, a life rebuilt from the inside out. And the most beautiful part, the world begins to reflect this new energy back at you. Doors open, people listen, opportunities appear, and the weight of old habits and self-doubt finally falls away. You are no longer the person who once apologized for every breath. You are the person who shows up fully, freely, and powerfully. The new you, alive in every moment. And as the new you takes shape, as confidence, purpose, and authenticity settle into your life, there emerges a profound, quiet force, the peace that comes with being yourself. Because when you no longer bend to fear, when you no longer apologize for your existence, life feels lighter. Your mornings are no longer filled with the weight of judgment or comparison. Your work becomes a place of clarity instead of stress, because you approach tasks from intention rather than obligation. Your conversations, whether with colleagues, friends, or family, flow with honesty and calm, because you no longer hide behind masks or rehearsed words. This piece is about emotional safety, allowing yourself to feel without shame, to express without fear, to exist without apology. It's about forgiving yourself for past mistakes, for the times you said yes when you wanted to say no, for the moments you hid your truth to please others. It's about reclaiming balance in a life that once spun around expectations, social media metrics, deadlines, and performance pressure. Being yourself brings self-acceptance. You start to notice that your quirks, your emotions, your choices, your energy, all of it is valid. You no longer seek permission to be present, to be heard, to exist fully. And in this acceptance, anxiety softens, confidence grows, and joy becomes possible in everyday moments: your morning coffee, your commute, your lunch break, your quiet evenings at home. Life feels full, authentic, and rich, simply because you are at peace with yourself. So my friends, my warriors, let this be your daily practice. Honor your truth, forgive your past, embrace your energy, and show up in life fully as who you are. Because true freedom, true calm, and true joy come not from changing for others, but from finally being yourself. And now, my friends, my warriors, after we've faced the fears, released the guilt, reclaimed our voices, and witnessed the birth of the new you, it comes down to this single, undeniable truth: change does not wait for tomorrow. It does not wait for the perfect moment, the perfect mood, or the perfect approval from anyone else. Look around your life, your mornings, your work, your social circles, your home, your routines, and ask yourself honestly, how long have you been holding back? How many days, weeks, years have passed while you apologized for existing? While you silenced your truth? While you shrank to fit into someone else's expectations? Every time you bend, every time you hide, every time you say sorry for being you, you delay the life you were meant to live. So here's the challenge: start today. Start with one choice that honors yourself, one conversation that speaks your truth, one boundary that protects your energy, one step away from toxicity, one small act of courage that says, I will no longer live in fear, I will no longer apologize for being me, I will no longer shrink for anyone. And here is the final truth: your life begins the moment you decide it does, not when someone validates you, not when the world approves, not when the fear subsides completely. Right now, in this moment, you are the author of your story. You are the architect of your freedom. You are the guardian of your peace, and you have everything inside you to begin, to step forward, to walk your path, to rise unapologetically, fully, powerfully. So I invite you personally, directly, stand, breathe, and take that first step. Say no to the cage, yes to your authenticity, and start living the life that has always been waiting for you. Today is the day. This is your revolution. This is your awakening. This is your moment. And now, my friends, the moment of truth has arrived. After all the fear, all the apologies, all the hiding and shrinking, it's time to step into the life that was waiting for you all along. Your past doesn't own you anymore. Every mistake, every betrayal, every heartbreak, every time you felt small, it does not define you. It only prepared you to recognize your own strength. And from this moment on, you carry your past as wisdom, not as a cage. You don't owe anyone the performance version of yourself. You are not here to bend, to mask, to please. You are not a collection of other people's expectations. You are here to be real, to be raw, to show up fully as you, imperfect, authentic, and unapologetically alive. You are no longer negotiating your worth, no longer begging for validation, no longer shrinking to fit a world that often doesn't understand your light. Your value is inherent. Your presence is enough, and the world will either rise to meet you or step aside but it will no longer dictate your self-worth. You're not here to shrink. You're here to expand, to grow, to explore, to create, to speak, to love, to rise, to conquer the inner fears that have held you back. Every dream you delayed, every voice you silenced, every choice you feared, now is the time to reclaim them boldly, intentionally, without apology. And finally, my warriors, this is the beginning of your unaided life, the life where you decide the rules, the life where you honor your truth, the life where fear no longer whispers in your ear, the life where freedom, joy, and authenticity are your daily companions. So stand tall, breathe deeply, step forward, speak your truth, protect your energy, and live fully, powerfully, unapologetically. Today is not just another day. Today is the day your unaided, unstoppable life begins. My friends, my warriors, if you've reached this point in the video, it means something deep inside you is waking up. It means that a part of you is ready, truly ready, to rise, to change, to take control of your life. You didn't just watch this video, you allowed yourself to feel it, to absorb it, to connect with it. That alone is proof that you want more, that you want better, that you want to truly improve yourself. And here's the truth. God, the universe, life itself, whatever you call it, is guiding you. It is gently, powerfully, showing you the path toward your purpose. You are being led toward your destiny, your true calling, your highest potential. And if you commit to this path, if you take the lessons of this speech into your daily life, you will reach it. You will achieve the purpose you are meant to fulfill. Together, we are creating something bigger, an army of winners, warriors, and game changers. A generation that refuses to settle, that rises above fear, that achieves unimaginable success, wisdom, and power. Let this be your pledge to take what you've learned, to apply it in your life, to inspire others, and to rise. Not just a little, but to rise like the champions you were born to be. To claim the greatness, the wisdom, the authority, and the victories that await you. The world is waiting for you to step into your power, and your time is now. Or so stand tall, my warriors. Step forward, take your life, own your destiny, and remember, the journey is long, but the reward is limitless. You are not here to follow. You are here to lead. You are not here to shrink. You are here to expand, and together we will rise.